So, picture this. You're just minding your own business, parking your van in your own driveway when suddenly, out of nowhere, a woman from the HOA starts snooping around. Not just a casual glance, she's practically touching my van. Now, I'm all for respecting boundaries, but when I confronted her about it, you won't believe what happened next. This woman, who had no business being there, actually called 911 on me. And here's the twist. She had no idea that the van she was messing with wasn't just any ordinary van, it was an unmarked FBI vehicle. You might be thinking, what are the odds? But trust me, this is a situation I could have never predicted. The tension was real, and as soon as she made that call, everything started spiraling out of control. I mean, who calls the cops over a simple confrontation like that? What was even crazier was how she reacted when she found out the truth about my van. So stay tuned, because things take a wild turn from here. And let me tell you, this HOA Karen definitely didn't expect what came next. Now, let me give you a bit of background. I've lived in this neighborhood for years, and like most people, I try to keep to myself. But, as you might know, the HOA can be a bit overzealous. It's the kind of place where they'll write you up for the tiniest thing, whether it's a broken mailbox or a leaf out of place. So when this woman, let's call her Karen, started poking around my van, I had a feeling it wasn't just a casual visit. At first, I didn't think much of it. I've had my fair share of weird encounters with HOA folks, so I figured she was just being nosy. But then I realized something didn't feel right. She was getting way too close to the van, almost as if she was trying to inspect it for something. It wasn't just some random car. It was an unmarked FBI vehicle, a van used for undercover operations. Not exactly the kind of thing you want people poking around without permission. I decided to step in before things got out of hand. I walked up to her, trying to keep my cool, and asked her politely to stay away from the vehicle. But instead of backing off, she actually got defensive. That's when things really took a strange turn. Karen pulled out her phone and dialed 911. I couldn't believe it. Why would she call the police on me? What was she thinking? As Karen dialed 911, I could feel my heart racing. I tried to stay calm, but my mind was already spiraling. Why was she so insistent on making a scene? And why, of all things, did she think it was necessary to involve the police? At this point, I had no idea what she was thinking, but the whole situation was starting to feel off. I could sense that something bigger was brewing, and it wasn't just about her being annoyed with my van. While she waited for the cops to arrive, she kept glancing at the vehicle, clearly trying to figure out what was so special about it. It was like she knew there was something more to the van than just a regular car, but she couldn't put her finger on it. The way she kept eyeing the windows, the antenna, and the markings, or lack of markings, was making me uneasy. I couldn't help but wonder, was she onto something? Did she know more than she was letting on? I decided I needed to stall her, at least until the situation could be sorted out. I calmly asked her why she felt the need to call the police, trying to keep my voice steady, but she wouldn't look me in the eye. She just muttered something about suspicious activity and safety, but the more she talked, the less it made sense. Why was she so fixated on my van? Was this personal? Or was there something deeper, something more sinister at play? The longer she spoke to the dispatcher, the more I started to feel like I was in a movie. It felt like every moment was dragging, and the tension in the air was so thick you could almost cut it with a knife. Would the police even understand the situation? Would they see it for what it was? Or would Karen's wild accusations escalate things even further? I stood there, watching her talk to the dispatcher. My mind raced. I could tell this wasn't just about the van anymore. Something in her voice, the way she kept glancing around nervously, it all felt like she was hiding something. She wasn't just a concerned neighbor. She was acting like she knew exactly what she was doing. That's when I realized this wasn't a random HOA run-in. This woman had some kind of agenda. The way she was fidgeting, almost as if she was waiting for something, made me think she had planned this from the start. I started to get a sick feeling in my stomach. What if Karen had a history with the FBI or knew something about undercover operations? Maybe she wasn't just a nosy neighbor. Maybe she was someone who'd seen more than she let on. The more I thought about it, the more unnerving it became. Was she trying to provoke a reaction? Or was this something more personal? Was she somehow involved in something dangerous? That could lead to bigger trouble. I glanced at the van again. The last thing I wanted was for the police to show up and for things to get out of hand. If they found out it was an unmarked FBI vehicle, would they even believe me? Or would Karen's claims turn everything upside down? Every second that ticked by felt like a countdown to something I couldn't predict. Just as I was trying to figure out how to handle this, I heard sirens in the distance. My stomach dropped. The cops were coming, and I had no idea how they were going to react. Would they side with Karen, or would they understand the situation for what it was? Would I be able to explain everything before things spiraled out of control? The sound of the sirens grew louder, and I could feel the tension building with each passing moment. This was about to get a whole lot more complicated. The sirens grew louder, and just as I braced myself for the worst, something unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, a black SUV pulled up behind my van, and a man in a suit stepped out, his demeanor sharp, his walk confident. I froze. This wasn't just any random cop. The way he moved, the look in his eyes, he didn't belong here. He was too calm, too composed for a routine HOA issue. My gut told me that this wasn't part of the plan. He wasn't just here to figure out some petty dispute. Karen didn't seem to notice him at first. She was still on the phone, rambling on about how suspicious I was and how I had been uncooperative. But as the suited man walked up to her, I saw a flash of recognition in her eyes. Her voice faltered, and for the first time, I saw a hint of fear in her expression. She clearly knew him. The strange part was, she didn't seem too happy to see him. The man didn't speak right away. He just stood there, observing Karen and me, almost like he was waiting for something. Then, without warning, he turned to me and asked, "Are you the owner of the vehicle?" His tone was cold, formal. It hit me like a punch in the gut. This wasn't a normal cop. This guy wasn't here for an HOA dispute. He was here for something much bigger. Before I could answer, Karen quickly jumped in, her voice shaky. "This man, he's got an unmarked vehicle and he..." But the suited man cut her off. "I don't need to hear your side of this. Step aside, Karen." He glanced at me, his eyes narrowing. "I need to speak with you." The air around us felt charged, and my mind was racing. What the hell was going on? Who was this guy? And why did Karen look so nervous all of a sudden? Was she connected to whatever was happening here? The situation had gone from weird to downright unsettling, and I had no idea where it was headed. But one thing was clear. I was no longer just a guy dealing with an HOA Karen. This was something much bigger, and I was caught in the middle of it. I stood there, frozen, as the suited man stepped closer, his eyes locked onto mine. The tension was unbearable, and for a moment, I wondered if I'd made a huge mistake by even getting involved in this. I thought about backing away, but something told me I couldn't. This wasn't just some neighborly squabble anymore. Karen's panic was palpable, and it only made the situation more bizarre. The suited man didn't wait for an answer. He took a step forward, his voice low and direct. "This is an official matter. I need you to come with me." He paused, glancing at Karen, who was now visibly shaking. "And you." He pointed at her. "Stay out of this. You've done enough." Karen opened her mouth, but no words came out. She just stood there, frozen, her face pale. That's when I realized something I hadn't considered. She was scared. It was as if she was being forced to play a role in something far beyond her control. The man's eyes flicked back to me, and I finally found my voice. "Who are you? What is this about?" I demanded, trying to keep my composure. The man took a breath, as if weighing how much to reveal. "I'm with a special operations unit," he said, his tone clipped. "That van, it's involved in a national investigation. You've unknowingly been caught up in something much bigger than you think." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A national investigation. The van had been used for surveillance, undercover missions. I had no idea any of this was happening, let alone that I had stumbled into it by parking in my own driveway. Just as I processed what he was saying, Karen spoke up, her voice trembling. "You don't understand. I didn't want to get involved, but I had no choice. They made me do it." The suited man turned sharply to her. "Enough," he said. "You've already said too much." But before he could say anything else, a loud sound broke through the tension, the distinct click of a car door. Suddenly, another vehicle rolled up, this one with flashing lights. My heart sank as the second group of agents stepped out, surrounding us. I glanced at the suited man, trying to make sense of it all. What's going on? Why are they here? But instead of answering, he grabbed my arm, pulling me aside. "You need to come with us now. You're in danger." I didn't even have time to process what he said before everything around me seemed to explode into chaos. Karen started to scream, and agents were rushing everywhere. I was yanked into a car before I could say another word, my mind still racing, trying to piece together the truth. Then, just as the door slammed shut behind me, I saw it. A faint but unmistakable symbol on the agents' uniforms. It wasn't just the FBI. It was something else, something far more secretive. The truth. I wasn't just a random civilian caught in a misunderstanding. I was being pulled into a covert operation, and I had no idea how deep it went. But the final twist hit me as the car sped off. Karen wasn't just a terrified neighbor. She had been working with them all along. And now I was about to find out just how much she'd known, and how far this whole thing really went. The car sped through the streets, and I couldn't help but feel like I was being pulled deeper into a world I never asked to be a part of. I kept replaying everything in my head: Karen's odd behavior, the mysterious man, and the strange feeling that the van wasn't just a vehicle, but a key to something bigger. After what felt like an eternity, the car finally came to a stop in front of a nondescript building, hidden away from the public eye. The suited man didn't say a word, just motioned for me to follow him inside. Once inside, the truth began to unfold. I wasn't just some random civilian who stumbled into this. I had been unknowingly tied to an undercover operation involving a major criminal investigation. Karen? She was an informant, working with the agency for months. Her panic wasn't from being caught. It was from fear of what might happen next. As the situation slowly unraveled, I realized something. I just narrowly escaped being caught in something that could have put my life in danger. In the end, I didn't know the full extent of the operation, but one thing was clear: sometimes the most ordinary moments can turn into something you never expect. And as for the van, it was now part of a story I'd never forget.